Timurla from Palo Alto Networks to the show. And, before we get into what's going on this week and what you guys are doing, let's talk just a little bit about your view of the world. What do you do at the company?
First of all, Derek, thanks for having me here. I really appreciate that. It's a very good show. I'm from Palo Alto Networks. I'm primarily a principal technical product manager, primarily focusing on proof of concepts, high-level designs, driving the product innovation. So I pretty much drive most of the sales enablement technical content.
Well, I'm not going to jump ahead, but we are going to talk about the future. You're the guy to talk to, it sounds like, about the future.
This
is good.
Absolutely.
All right. So let's talk about what's going on in your prime room. People are always interested in, they've got the different prime room, what's going on in each of those. So what can you share about what your guys' plans for that?
There's tons of activities going on. We're pretty excited to be here. So first, we would like to showcase some of the live sessions, primarily focusing on industrial OT security and how we can protect the cyber physical systems. So especially on asset-centric visibility for the OT systems, and there is virtual patching. I'm going to talk about that later on as well. And there is IEC 62443 zones in conduits, which we're going to cover, which is very...
So these are separate sessions inside your
prime room. That is correct.
The schedule of those probably in the Whova app?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Is that the best place to find sort of what you're doing? And
yes, they are in the Whova app, yes. And also there are other emerging things like 5G connectivity and all, which we're going to cover part of that. And then there is our live demo sessions. There are 2 live demo sessions where you can come and explore. So we're going to cover the securing the OT assets and networks, and also securing the remote operations as well, which is very relevant right now with all the remote access.
So will there be sort of AM, PM sessions of those sprinkled out through all
so those are live sessions within our prime room, so you can come, live demo stations, so you can come and view anytime.
Oh, okay. That doesn't have to be at a specific time.
No specific time. And then there is a cyber wall, which is pretty interactive. Please don't miss it. So in the cyber wall, we're going to show how attackers can infiltrate the OT systems and how they can go and disrupt the manufacturing and production environment. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty big. So come and visit that. It's pretty interactive.
Yeah.
And then lastly, there is an OT hands-on workshop where you can come in and you can do a hands-on lab. So that's going to cover how we can provide comprehensive visibility and protection for the OT cybersecurity system.
So not much going on then.
Yeah.
Sounds like you guys are getting you're maximizing it.
Like I said, tons going on in here.
Awesome. Okay. Super. Well, let's talk a little bit about the theme for S425. Create the future for OT and ICS security. Obviously there's so many different things we can unpack about that theme and what Cisco may be doing, Palo Alto Networks, may be doing around that. So, start wherever you like on that. But how do you see Palo Alto Networks addressing, the future?
Yeah. So if you look at OT security in general, we are at the inflection point, I would say, with the threat landscape. Especially with all the AI-powered attacks which we are seeing. Like earlier, when we talk about a ransomware, it used to take like 12 hours, right, to start a ransomware. Now we're talking about like 2 hours. Like within the next year or so, with all the AI things which we're seeing, it might come down to like 15 minutes. So you can see they are pretty much compromising and disrupting the OT operations and networks. And then on the other side, you can see there is a lot of OT and IT convergence because of lack of proper segmentation. And a classic example being the Colonial Pipeline attack, which we have seen, where the attackers, they compromised the IT system through which they went into the OT systems and disrupt the OT operations. And also on the other side, we see most of the OT systems are pretty legacy with known vulnerabilities, running with known vulnerabilities and whatnot. And also there are ICS-specific attacks which we are seeing. A classic example, most recent one, which we have observed, and Palo Alto Networks have identified that one, is the Fausti Group one, where an attacker, they went into the process level of the OT systems and they issued unauthorized TCP Modbus commands. So that disrupts their human safety as well as that disrupts the operation, right? So that actually impacted more than 600 apartment buildings. So that's catastrophic it is. And also there are a new emerging 5G and 4G and OT security environments as well. So these are all some of the threat landscape and security trends what we are observing. And if you look at the OT security market itself, it is pretty fragmented. There are a lot of niche technologies out there which some address the visibility gaps, some address the protection and security, and still we are seeing a lot of gaps in terms of remote operations and the 5G, which I talked about earlier. And mainly we are looking, when we talk to our customers are mainly aspiring to look to simplify and consolidate some of these tools, and also they want to, completely secure these OT systems and using one platform which can simplify their journey. And then that's exactly where Palo Alto has invested their effort. So using one platform, we can provide that network-centric visibility, asset-centric visibility and network-centric policy using one platform, where we can provide holistic visibility of all the OT assets and the cyber physical systems, and then we can provide the vulnerability management and risks. On the other side, we can provide the security monitoring, segmentation, IT/OT demarcation, sanction connections, remote operations, as well as we can provide process-level information which can secure those OT systems.
Across any industry vertical? Or
pretty much across any industry, to your point, right? Yeah, you name it, right? Like whether it is manufacturing, critical infrastructure, within that, like oil and gas, energy, supply chain, like pretty much.
Yeah.
Any industry.
Listening to you, sort of just describe the current state of being, it's the word that came to mind was change. There's a lot of change right now.
Exactly. Yeah.
For an industry that's had decades of technology that doesn't get changed, legacy technology, right? So it's an interesting crossroads that we're at right now, right?
Exactly.
Rapid change from threats and protection strategies and technologies, and we're applying it to stuff that in some cases hasn't been updated in 20 years.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we are seeing.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we are seeing, and that's where we launched Q Innovations recently. One thing we call it as virtual patching. So let me take a few minutes and share about the virtual patching capability. So if you look at OT systems in general, they are pretty legacy, to your point, and they have prolonged uptime. And you can't go and patch the system directly because that would be service disruption, right? That would cause service disruption.
It's a huge issue, when to patch or never to patch.
Never to patch, all this, right?
Yeah.
And that's where what we did was we did thorough research, and we came up with the virtual patching capability. So what basically does is, like the moment we see the vulnerability, we prioritize the vulnerability based on the impact and the threat component of it. Right, like likelihood of the impact, how it can be exploited, can be exploited in the wild. So we look into those, and once we see that, then what we do is we can go and see if we have any threat signature which is available, so that we can map the threat signature to that particular vulnerability or the CVE. So that way, what we can do is we can apply that threat signature to the CVE, so that we can mitigate the threat component of the CVE. So that we call it as virtual patching. Once you apply that, you can work with your vendor at your own pace to patch the system. So that's the beauty of this virtual patching capability.
I like another thing you shared in there is it's none of this is binary. Like there's something needs to be patched, patch it. It's how likely is that? How hard is it to exploit? How many places do we have it?
Yes.
It's a ratio. It's a mathematical equation.
Exactly.
For all these decision making.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's where, like you can see, we can prioritize those vulnerabilities and CVEs based on the likelihood of impact as per CISA. And we also look into the exploit status, like POCs, weaponized, exploited in the wild, all those components. And also we look into the asset criticality, because we need to go and tackle the right system.
That can be a very wide spectrum.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. That seems to me in my my walkabout and talking to lots of asset owners these days, prioritization is for me, it's one of those, like that's one of the key things right now. We don't have enough people, we don't have enough money.
Right.
Most of us, most asset owners, and so it's how do I tackle what's next? And it seems to me, I love the science of a methodology around this is what we're going to do next.
Right.
Not from the last person we talked to, or the last lecture we heard, or the last person that came and tried to sell us a solution, but risk, right? Measuring it and understanding and exposure, and and it is that discipline is everything next.
Exactly. And also on top of it, we're also seeing a lot of traction on the remote operation side as well. If you look at it, and there is a wide spectrum of use cases around it as well, right? Like if you look at it, most of these vendors, like whether it is OEM vendors who wants to go and patch the systems or talk to these devices, they need to securely connect to these plants. right?
More and more every day.
Every day, right?
Yeah.
Right now, whether it is like firmware downloads, maintenance purposes, and whatnot, like that. That's where we came up with our privileged remote access solution, which can tackle that use case, where we can securely connect these users or personas to talk to these mission critical systems. And very recently, we launched a Prisma Access browser, which can go and provide that secure remote access connections for these contractors, where we can do just-in-time access, administrative controls, compliance and postures. We can even monitor the file checks.
Just for the moment you need to do your step, but not after that, and not before that.
Yes.
That is another big theme, and I know that there's a lot of security practitioners, worried about remote access, but that genie's sort of out of the bottle.
Yeah.
It's now how to do it safely, not whether to do it.
Yeah.
There's so much demand to do it, and again, what's the criticality of the asset or the plant it may not be all things for all, but in general, remote access is on the upward trend, and
Yes.
I don't think it's not going to go back.
Yep, that's you're spot on, right? And also the other different trend, what we have observed is the 5G, especially in the manufacturing, in the auto manufacturing, industrial IoT. There are a lot of customers who are currently using this 5G connected private cellular connected devices, and they provide business continuity, they provide a lot of value to these customers, but on the flip side, they are prone to these emerging threats, right? Mainly we're talking about like denial of service attacks and things, and that's where using the same platform, which is our Palo Alto next generation firewalls, like we can go and we can protect these 5G and private cellular connected assets, where we can take the mobile context like IMEI, IMSI, and we can use that context for protecting these assets.
Yeah. I think, based on the kind of work you do in the research and looking ahead, you mentioned earlier AI, we should probably touch on that again.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's on everybody's tongue in many different ways. Not everybody's excited. There's a dark side to it.
Exactly.
There's positives and negatives to it. It's not one thing, right? It's a category of things. What's your view on that?
I know, like I said earlier, like AI pretty much is accelerating the attack surface, right? And with Palo Alto, we want to use AI to combat AI. And that's how we are leveraging the precision AI technology with our platform approach, with our integrated security services to protect these mission critical systems. And when we do that, we are bringing our unique blend of like machine learning, deep learning with the precision AI. We can provide that secure cybersecurity outcomes for our customers.
Yeah, is your view that sort of those technologies will be present in any defense strategy? I mean, threat actors are going to use whatever they get their hands on. Is it inherent that it's going to be then part of any future solution? There's going to be
pretty much most of our products which we are building, like that is built on top of AI, and then that's where we want to leverage the precision AI capability within our platform to like protect these systems. Like we use advanced threat prevention and all that to protect against bad actors.
What do you see as the if you had to say the number one challenge that industries are facing? Maybe it's a particular industry or maybe it's cross industry, but number one challenge? Is it network segmentation? Is it asset discovery? Is it advanced persistent threats using AI? What there's so many different things you could talk about. If you had to single one out, what would it be?
Yeah, I think the holistic visibility and protection is what I would say. Like that's where we want to bring that asset-centric visibility and network-centric policy into one platform, because like you can't protect something which you can't see, right? Like first you need to identify what kind of an asset that is. Then you need to go and talk to the asset owner, device owner, and then you can either patch the system, segment that system. Like that's where like
you can have a strategy.
You have a
but if you don't know
what that is, then you can't. So you need to have that asset-centric view and as well as network-centric policy. That's where Palo Alto bring both those things together.
I'm surprised still touring major facilities, and obviously off the record, no, we don't know all the assets.
Yeah.
It's still common,
Yes,
very common.
Very common,
There's a lot, and we don't know what they all are.
Yeah, and that's been the theme with most of the OT organizations as well, right? But like lately, we have seen a shift. Like I said, there is because of this change in the industry, we are seeing a lot of IT/OT convergence, remote operations, and all that. We are changing that, and that's where like we are providing that visibility and segmentation to combat these AI-powered attacks as well as some of these bad actors.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show and for Palo Alto Networks supporting S4. And
No,
I look forward to stopping by your guys' room and seeing what's, all the stuff. You guys have an action-packed week set up.
Yeah, please stop by and don't miss the cyber wall again. But thanks, Derek.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you very much for coming
Thank you
on.
very much.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.